There's a moment most men know very well. You're sitting with a woman. The conversation is warm. She's laughing. She's looking at you a little longer than usual. Everything feels like it's moving somewhere good. And then you do something. You say something. Or you make a move. And within 10 seconds, the entire feeling in the room changes. She gets quiet. She pulls back just slightly. And that warmth you both felt together just a moment ago quietly disappears. You don't know what you did wrong, but something shifted. And here's what I want you to understand before we go any further into this video. That moment right there, that shift, that's not rejection of you as a man. That's a signal. And once you understand what that signal actually means, you'll never misread it again. I've been studying how women emotionally connect with men for a long time. Not in a clinical, textbook way. In a real, human, practical way. And I want to share something with you today that most men your age were never taught. Not because it was hidden from you on purpose, but because nobody around you understood it either. Your father didn't know it. Your older brother didn't know it. And unfortunately, most dating advice out there still doesn't explain it clearly enough. Here's the truth. Women don't close themselves off because they're not interested. Women close themselves off because something in the emotional environment doesn't feel right yet. And that distinction is enormous. Because if you've been thinking all this time that her hesitation means no, you've been solving the wrong problem entirely. What she's actually responding to is feeling. Not what you said, not what you asked, but the feeling underneath the moment. And when you learn how to shape that feeling, everything changes. Not through manipulation, not through tricks, but through understanding how her emotional world actually works and meeting her there instead of dragging her somewhere she hasn't arrived at yet. Now, let me tell you something about men in their 50s and 60s that I genuinely respect. You've lived enough life to know that rushing never really works. You've seen it in business. You've seen it in friendships. You've probably seen it in your own past relationships. The things that lasted were the things that were allowed to develop naturally. And the things that felt forced always ended up feeling hollow. Intimacy works exactly the same way. And the men who understand that are the ones women genuinely want to be close to. So let's start at the beginning. Let's start with something most men never actually think about. The difference between how men experience attraction and how women experience it is not small. It's significant. And ignoring that difference is the reason so many good men end up confused and alone when they shouldn't be. For most men, attraction arrives quickly. It's visual. It's immediate. You see a woman who captures your attention and your whole system responds right away. That's just how male psychology works. There's nothing wrong with it. But here's where men make the mistake. They assume women work the same way. They think that if a woman seems interested, she's ready. And if she hesitates, she's not. But that's not how it works for her at all. A woman's attraction doesn't arrive all at once. It builds. It layers. It deepens through experience, through conversation, through feeling understood, through feeling safe, through noticing small things about how you carry yourself when nobody's watching. She might meet you on a Tuesday and feel relatively neutral. But by Friday, after a few conversations that felt real, after noticing that you listen without interrupting, after realizing that you're not trying to impress her but just being honest, she finds herself thinking about you in a way she didn't expect. That's not her playing games. That's her attraction doing exactly what it's designed to do. And the man who knows how to work with that process instead of fighting against it is the man she ends up wanting. So let's talk about what you actually need to understand about creating closeness without pressure. And I want you to pay close attention here because this is where most men, even smart men, even experienced men, get it completely backwards. The number one mistake I see men make when they want to move toward intimacy is that they make it about themselves. They think about what they want. They think about how to ask for it. They think about how to make their case. And in doing so, they completely miss what she's experiencing on her side of the interaction. And when a man is clearly focused on his own wants in a vulnerable moment, A woman feels it immediately, not because she's looking for reasons to pull back, but because women are emotionally tuned in ways that are incredibly sensitive. She picks up on energy before words. She reads the feeling behind the action before she processes the action itself. So the shift that changes everything is simple to say, but takes genuine awareness to practice. Stop thinking about what you want to get. Start thinking about what she needs to feel. Because when she feels the right things, closeness happens without anyone having to ask for it. It just becomes the natural next step. Now let me walk you through what those feelings actually are. Because naming them makes them real. And once you can name them, you can actually create them intentionally instead of hoping they show up by accident. The first feeling she needs to feel is safety. And I don't mean physical safety. I mean emotional safety. The feeling that she can be herself around you without being judged. The feeling that if she says something honest, you won't use it against her or make her feel foolish for it. The feeling that you're not keeping score, not calculating, not waiting for your moment to pounce. Safety in a man comes from his stillness. It comes from him not reacting to every little thing. It comes from him being grounded in himself so completely that being around him feels like standing on solid ground. Most men try to create safety by saying the right things, by telling her she can trust them, by assuring her of their intentions. But women don't believe words when they contradict energy. If your words say one thing and your nervous system says another, she follows the nervous system every time. So the way to create safety is not to say more. It's to be more settled, more patient, more genuinely comfortable with the moment as it is. The second feeling she needs is trust. And trust is built slowly through consistency. It's built when you say you're going to do something and you actually do it. When you're the same man in difficult moments that you are in easy ones. When you respect her space without making her feel guilty for needing it. Trust is the invisible foundation underneath everything else. And without it, no amount of charm or chemistry will take you where you actually want to go. The third feeling, and this is the one that most men underestimate, is anticipation. Anticipation is the electric feeling of something wonderful that hasn't quite arrived yet. It's the pause before the music begins. It's the space between almost and yes. And anticipation is not created by pushing forward. It's created by holding back at exactly the right moment, by allowing tension to build, by showing her that you feel the pull between you without immediately acting on it. Because when a man can feel desire and remain composed, he communicates something powerful. He communicates that he's in control of himself. And that kind of self-mastery is one of the most attractive things a woman can experience in a man. Now here's where it gets practical. Because understanding these three feelings is one thing. Knowing how to create them in real conversation and real situations is another. Let's talk about something I call the art of leaving space. Most men, when they sense a connection building, immediately try to close it. They lean in. They escalate. They try to make something happen. But closeness doesn't respond well to force. It responds to invitation. And invitation requires space. When you stop filling every moment with words or actions, when you allow silence to sit between you comfortably, when you lean back instead of forward just slightly, you create a vacuum. And emotionally, she moves into that vacuum. Not because you tricked her, but because the absence of pressure gave her the freedom to follow her own feelings. Think about the last conversation you had with someone who was a truly great listener. Not someone who was waiting for their turn to speak, but someone who was genuinely present and allowing your words to land. Do you remember how it felt? Probably comfortable. Probably warm. Probably like you could say more than you normally would. That's what space does. It creates permission. And when a woman feels that kind of permission, her guard comes down in the most natural possible way. Now let's talk about language. Because the words you choose in intimate moments matter enormously. Not because women are analyzing your grammar, but because the emotional content of your words creates feelings in her body before her mind even processes the meaning. There's a significant difference between a question that puts her on the spot and a statement that acknowledges what's already present between you. When you ask a woman a direct question about intimacy, you're forcing her into her thinking mind. You're making her weigh options, consider consequences, think about what your expectations are, wonder what it will mean. And all of that thinking is the enemy of feeling. But when you make a soft, honest observation about the moment, you're speaking directly to her emotional experience. You're saying, essentially, I notice this too. And recognition is one of the most powerful human experiences there is. So instead of pushing toward a destination, you name where you already are. You say something quiet and genuine, like there's something really easy about talking to you. Or, I don't know what it is, but being around you feels comfortable. Or simply, this has been a really good evening. These aren't lines. They're honest observations. And honest observations invite honest responses. She might say something that mirrors your feeling right back to you. And in that mirroring, closeness deepens without anyone having to ask for it. Let me talk about something that mature men actually have a significant advantage in. And I want you to hear this clearly because it's something younger men simply cannot offer. Patience. Real patience. The kind that comes from having lived long enough to know that the best things in life are never rushed. When a man in his 50s or 60s sits with a woman and doesn't seem to be in any hurry, when he's clearly enjoying the present moment rather than racing towards some future outcome, she feels something she may not have felt in a long time. She feels genuinely valued, not for what might happen, but for who she is in that exact moment. And that feeling is incredibly rare. Most men, regardless of age, are so focused on where they want things to go that they completely miss the beauty of where things already are. When you develop the ability to be fully present, you become a man who is not only attractive, but genuinely unforgettable. Because presence communicates something that no amount of compliments or clever words can. It communicates that she matters to you right now. Not as a means to an end, but as a person worth your full attention. There's another concept I want to share with you that very few men ever think about. And it has to do with how women experience the difference between feeling desired and feeling pressured. These two things might sound like they're close together, but emotionally they're on completely opposite ends of the spectrum. Feeling desired is one of the most beautiful experiences a woman can have. It's warm. It's affirming. It makes her feel seen and wanted in the best possible way. But feeling pressured is cold and uncomfortable. It makes her feel like an object rather than a person, like she's being evaluated rather than appreciated. And the strange thing is that the exact same action from a man can feel like desire to one woman in one moment and pressure to another woman in another moment entirely. The difference is almost never about what the man does. It's about the feeling underneath what he does. When a man moves from a place of genuine appreciation, when he's truly enjoying her presence and not calculating his next move, she feels desired. But when a man moves from a place of urgency or anxiety or needing something from her to feel okay about himself, she feels pressured. And women can feel the difference every single time. So the work isn't in learning a set of techniques. The work is in becoming the kind of man whose desires come from abundance rather than scarcity. A man who enjoys a woman's company without needing her to complete him. A man who wants more connection but is already content with what's present. That internal shift is what changes everything. Now, let me give you something practical for those moments when the conversation starts moving towards something deeper. When you sense that something is building between you and a woman, there's a simple thing you can do that almost always deepens connection rather than disrupting it. You slow down. You get quieter. You become more deliberate in how you speak and move. You let your words carry more weight by using fewer of them, and you allow your presence to do more of the work than your personality. This might feel counterintuitive because most men think they need to keep the energy up, keep her entertained, keep moving things forward. But in intimate moments, Stillness is actually more powerful than momentum. When you slow down, you signal to her that you're comfortable, that you're not nervous, that you've been in meaningful moments before and you know how to honor them. And that calm confidence is deeply reassuring to a woman who's deciding whether or not to let her guard down. One more thing I want to address directly, because I know some of you are thinking about it. What do you do when you're genuinely uncertain about how she's feeling? When you can't quite read the signals? When you want to move forward, but you don't want to misread the room? The answer is simpler than you might think. You ask about her feelings, not about your intentions. Instead of asking her to make a decision about what might happen next, you gently check in about how she's experiencing the present moment. You might say something like, "Are you comfortable here?" Or, "How are you feeling right now?" These are questions that show care, not need. And they give her the space to be honest with you. If she's feeling great, she'll tell you. If something feels off, she'll tell you that too. And either way, you've done something important. You've shown her that her comfort matters more to you than your agenda. And that, for most women, is the moment trust truly settles in. Because here's what I want you to walk away from this video truly understanding. Intimacy between two mature adults is not a conquest. It's not a negotiation. It's not something you have to figure out how to extract from someone who's withholding it. Real intimacy is something that two people step into together when the conditions feel right for both of them. Your job is not to convince her. Your job is to create an environment so emotionally safe, so warm, so unhurried and genuine that stepping into closeness with you feels like the most natural thing in the world. And when you become that man, rejection stops being something you fear. Because you're no longer pushing, you're creating. You're no longer asking for something, you're building something together. And what gets built together is always more real than what gets taken by force. The men who understand this are the ones women remember, the ones they tell their closest friends about, the ones who leave an impression that lasts long after the evening is over, not because they said something smooth, but because they made her feel something rare, something honest, something that felt, for once, completely safe. That's the kind of man you can be, not because you learned a script, but because you chose to understand her world before asking her to enter yours. And that choice, more than anything else, is what makes the difference. If this gave you something real to think about today, if it shifted even one thing in how you see connection and closeness, then stay with this channel because there's a lot more coming that I think will genuinely help you. Hit the like button if this felt honest and valuable to you. Subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. And if you know a man who needs to hear this, share it with him. Because every man deserves to understand what we talked about today.